Welcome to Section 2, Video 2, explaining the Unreal Engine's codebase and the importance of planning scope. In this video, we're going to learn about Unreal Engine 4's codebase and how it's generally used, and understanding what is scope in planning ours. Blueprints are Unreal Engine 4's visual scripting language. I specified it as Unreal Engine 4 because it was introduced into the fourth iteration of the engine. It was originally designed as a programming language for non-programmers and designers, and this was originally intended to just add simple gameplay code. As Blueprint's popularity grew, Epic Games has been improving it to the point where you can make full games with it. Blueprints are fundamentally slower than C++, and this is because it is a high-level programming language, while C++ is a lower-level language. High-level scripting languages are typically simpler, easier to read, and learn and code in, but they are simpler and slower for the computer to process because it is converted from a language that's closer to human languages and into machine language by a compiler or interpreter, which takes time. Low-level scripting languages are more complicated in general, but they are faster for the computer to process. This is because it is typically closer to machine languages than human languages. This is also known as assembly languages. So let's say we have a ladder. We will call this ladder the ladder of code languages. At the bottom of the ladder is where we have the computer's CPU, where we execute the code. And every time we have code that we need to execute, we climb up the ladder to the coding language that we are using, and get the code that we intend to execute, and climb down to the CPU to execute that code. So, in the case of blueprints, we would have to climb higher, which takes longer than, say, C++. Which is lower on the ladder, so it's faster to climb up and down the ladder than blueprints. One thing I want to stress is that if you program your games or applications correctly, you wouldn't really have the problem of code speed because it should be efficient, but you must understand the limitations of the language you are using. So why use blueprints if they are slower than C++? Well, for a game development environment, it's intended to be used as a sort of short-form implementation, or for quickly coding something specific and small. The usual format for using blueprints in a development environment is to build out the skeleton of the code in C++, and then in blueprints we would inherit from the C++ class and then add slight modifiers and such. This would be useful for a pickup class made in C++. Then we would have a function for it when it is picked up, and in blueprint we would inherit from the pickup and name it health pickup. In C++, when the pickup function fires, we would tell it in Blueprint to add health to the player. Scope is another way of planning out our project. In code, this would be known as coding within the curly braces. Any code that is outside the curly braces can also be known as global or out of scope depending on what you're doing. In project management for video games, this is commonly known as game design documents, or GDDs, that outline everything for the project. For this course, we will be scoping in a simple format, what the player can do, and any other features that we will add in to other objects in the world, as well as whether or not some code will be in C++ or Blueprint. So for the player, we will want to be able to walk around, jump, crouch, shoot a gun, have health, be able to die, and be able to interact with objects all within C++. We will want to be able to pause the game, but we will be using a combination of C++ and blueprints. Other objects within the world that we will have to code are game modes and level-ending actors that are only going to be coded in C++. We will be using the pause menu widget and set up the main menu and the main menu's level only within blueprints. And for pickups, the interaction system, destructible items, and the gameplay widget, we will be using a combination of C++ and blueprints. In the next video, we will be explaining Unreal Engine's garbage collection and its API.